and Jihad's Genfield Tendier, owned by B&C McKenzie. Foxfire's Ferrari of Caney, bred by Beverly Lilos and Artie Evans, by champion Camry's Blacktown Rebellion and champion Kenny Chimonder Fair Genesis, owned by Jack and Dale Shane and B. Lilos and A. Evans. Prairie's Windwalker Jor-El, bred by Connie Gunther and Chris Terrell, by champion Montrose 3 Elite of Kavix and champion Kavix Prairie Contessa, owned by Dr. Gary W. France and Connie Gunther. Shiloh, Lua and Cream, bred by D. Sorry, Case Bruce, B. Clark, and S. Fisher, by champion Shiloh, Sebastian of Patmar, and Dayspring Delilah, owned by Diane and James Still. Talk of the Town, bred by Thomas Kirsten and M.L. Benjamin, by champion Pahlavi Putting on the Ritz, and champion Shikari's Kali Puja, owned by Dr. and Mrs. Conrad Monson. Gandalf's Almond Ripple, bred by Gloria O'Connell, by champion Sonalis Double Agent, and West Wind Selkit of Gandalf, owned by Gloria O'Connell. Ibenra Moody Blue Winson, bred by John Locke and Judy Bloom, by Ibenra Micah and Coastwind Jubilant Osirin, owned by C.K. Winter, John Locke, and Judy Bloom. One Night Stand, bred by Suzanne Neal, by champion Camry's Black and Tan Rebellion, and champion Sura's Sidewalk Sunday, owned by Suzanne Neal. That brought in the third group of open dogs. Raising Cane, bred by Sue and Garrett Games by champion Camry's Black and Tan Rebellion, and Calfana's Centerpole, owned by Ellis and Debbie Rawls and Sue and Garrett Games. Majik Roadside Attraction, bred by Sue and Patty Norsworthy and Denise Priest by champion Coastwind Jubilant Osiris, and Zanza's Dark Side of the Moon, owned by D. Priest, R. Priest, and A. Gray. Beeks Sterling on the Run, bred by Barbara Benedict and Kristen Marguerite Terrell by champion Beeks the Front Runner, and Raiders Elusive Butterfly, owned by Colleen McDonald and Patricia Brown. Rafika's Fortune Hunter, bred by Sue and Garrett Games by champion Camry Black and Tan Rebellion, and Califana's Centerfold, owned by Eric Schumacher and Sue and Garrett Games. Volant Terracotta, bred by Jan Pretty and Gary Anderson by Nightwatch Volant Sojourner and Tandy Van Ketwiga, owned by Joanne King and Jan Pretty. Jinfields Jihad's Keel Coon, bred by B. Hurry, J. Beard, El Guerrero, and H. Nave by champion Genesis BT Express, Afghani, and champion Jinfields Yashimano, owned by Douglas Linfield.
Get your ticket so you don't miss out.
Kenny Summer Magic Delora, bred by Artie Evans, El Guerrero, and H. Nave by champion Camry's Black and Tan Rebellion, and champion Kenny's Summer Breeze, owned by Val Hiller and A. Evans. Ben Hassan's Arctic Sun, bred by Helen Haas by champion Tarina Arctic Eagle and champion El Kyrie's Goodness Gracious Me, owned by Nancy Cratter. Rafika Center of Attention, bred by Sue and Garrett Games by champion Camry's Black and Tan Rebellion, and Califano Centerpole, owned by Everett Boland Jr. and Sue and Garrett Games. Jinfields Jihad's Jamil, bred by J. Beard, B. Hurry, by champion Jinfields Ataluya and Jinfields Gemma, owned by M. Newsom. Kavoo, Hullabaloo, The Right Stuff, bred by B. Huffnagel and B. Stitz, by champion Camry's Bentley, and champion Kavoo, Hullabaloo, Mountain Dew, owned by B. Huffnagel and S. Mantle Johnson. Storm Hill Flashback, bred by Sue and David Fry, by champion Shiloh's Sebastian Fatmar and champion Storm Hill's Voodoo Magic, owned by Storm Hill Kennels and Don and Sona Stockman. Orinoco Moving On, bred by Lynn Shanzel, Leanne and Bernard Mansfield, by champion Genesis Red Cloud and champion Orinoco Mahali Blue Willow, owned by Wayne and Barbara Marshall and Lynn Shanzel.
country.
And in the open dogs, first place is Kenny Summer Sun. Second place, Applause Ladies Man. Third place, Foxfire's Ferrari of Kenny. And fourth place, Mahali Orinoco Moving On.
6-9 Puppy Bitches to the ready ring.
Winners Dogs. Winners Dogs. Your open dog, of course, is Kenny Summer Sun. Your American bred dog is Quebec's Stormfront. Bred by is Califani Easy on the Eyes. 12 to 18 month dog winner is Gingala Rough and Ready. 9 to 12 is Rafika's It Takes a Thief. And 6 to 9 month is Sura's Special Effects. And winner's dog comes from the open dog class, Kenny Summer Sun. Brought back in Applause Ladies Man for reserve competition. And reserve goes to Applause Ladies Man. Second place open dog. On to the bitches. And our judge is Kent Delaney. 6 to 9 months. Prairie Garland Forever Friend. Bred by Jim and Connie Gunther, by champion Genesis BT Express Connie, and champion Quebec's Prairie Contessa, owned by Dr. Gary Prance and Connie Gunther. Hot Commodity, bred by Sue and Garrett Games and S&D Fry, by champion Storm Hill's Contraband and champion Rafika's She's a Looker, owned by Storm Hill Kennels. Token Heart, bred by J. Morton, G. Byfield, B. Jonas, and M. Hendricks, by champion Tarina Arctic Eagle, and Rose Lonely Heart, owned by Conrad Monson, Toy Monson, and John Morton. Brianna, bred by J. Morton, G. Byfield, B. Jonas, and N. Hendricks, by champion Tarina Arctic Eagle, and Jero's Lonely Heart, owned by Toy Munson and John Roger Morton.
They're made out of palm branch, and they actually put their children like 5-year-old children.
Bacchus Spirit of Chacon, bred by Abby Shaw and Terry Chacon, by champion Shiloh Marquis Malachite and champion Chacon Solo Cookies and Cream, owned by Abby Shaw and Terry Chacon. Bacchus Alouette of Chacon, bred by Abby Shaw and Terry Chacon, by champion Shiloh Marquis Malachite and champion Chacon Solo Cookies and Cream, owned by Abby Shaw and Terry Chacon. Journey Jumpstart, bred by N. Eddington, R. Sutton, R. Ruskin, by champion The Summer Wind of the Journey Begins, and champion Shy Tam Quiz My Grits, owned by Nancy Eddington and Rosemary Sutton. Love Reflection, bred by R&R Keller by champion Jubilant Osir and champion Safar Loves Illusion,
9 to 12,
owned by
puppy
R&R
bitch to
Keller.
the ready ring, please. 9 to 12, puppy bitch to the ready ring.
Thank you. Yeah, you are.
Cythera, Infidelity of Mahali, bred by Helen Stein and Lynn Chanzel and B&L Mansfield, by champion Magic White Sands and champion Orinoco Mahali Blue Magic, owned by Helen Stein, Lynn Chanzel, and Bill Mitchell. Camera's coming now.
No.
For those of you that were in the first section of the open dogs that did not receive the print, please go and see the ring steward.
Look at the dog. Wow.
And first place goes to Safara Loves Reflection. Second, Cythera Infidelity of Mahali. Third, Stormhill Hot Commodity. And fourth, Journey Jumpstart. Puppy bitch is 9 to 12 months. Annabelle for Arborcrest, bred by Age Gentis and Elsa Storson, by champion Pallavi Putting on the Ritz. And El Kyrie's Nevertheless, owned by Ben Carter. A Windfall, bred by Kathy Rogers and Dr. and Mrs. A.D. Buffus, by champion Airats Adventure and champion Airats Angelique, owned by Dr. and Mrs. A.D. Buffus and Kathy Rogers. Kulana's Romance, bred by Darlene Anderson and Janice Rattel, by champion Renwick's Special Envoy and champion Tafar's Sweet Victory, owned by Mary and Don Bachstatter. Rafikas White Mischief, bred by Sue and Garrett Games by champion Rafikas Thief Apart, and Rafikas Susudio, owned by Sue and Garrett Games and Catherine Carr. Bred by Susie Draft and Judith Bloom by champion Coastwind Tan Man and champion Jubilan Orinda, owned by Susie Draft. Paradise's Bare Essence, bred by Wagner and Peterson and Johnson by champion Jubilans Osir and Perfection's Lucky Penny, owned by D&M Wagner. Tambuchtu Majulika, bred by Vaughn Keene by champion Pallavi Dancing Shoes and Tajin's Mallorca Tambuchtu, owned by Vaughn Keene. Tambuchtu Sadie, bred by Vaughn Keene by champion Shiloh Sebastian of Patmar and Tajin's Trist Tambuchtu, owned by Vaughn Keene. Tafara's Flying Victory, bred by Darlene Anderson and Janice Rattel by champion Renwick's Special Envoy and champion Tafara's Sweet Victory, owned by Janice Rattel. Briel's Flying Colors of a Car, bred by Christine Hicks by champion Shiloh Sebastian of Patmar, and Briel's Betsy Boot 2, owned by Sharon Murphy and Christine Hicks.
12 to 18 puppy bitches to the ready ring, please. 12 to 18 puppy bitches to the ready ring.
And as they go around, first is Annabelle for Arbor Crest, second, Tambuchtu Sadie, third is Tafara's Flying Victory, and fourth is Briel's Flying Colors of a Car. Junior bitches 12 to 18 months. Silver Thorns Glory Runner, bred by Joanne Childress by Champion Kibix the Front Runner, and Bazaar Fiora Dancia, owned by Joanne Childress. These are changing cookies. Arats All Hot and Bothered, bred by Billy Wilson and Bruce and Rosemary Sutton by Champion Arats Athlete and Champion Zia's Hot Summer Wind, owned by Dr. and Mrs. A.D. Buttress. Cassan Pretty Poison, bred by Laura Part by Champion Elmo's Tutankhamun, and Casban Sometimes a Fantasy, owned by Sandra Wainrob and Laura Part.
Thank you.
Casbar Double Vision, bred by Kevin and Barbara Cassidy and Bob and Carol Pinta by Champion Zavinda Resim and Champion Yucatan Night Vision, owned by Kevin and Barbara Cassidy.
Thank you.
Soft Wind Celica, bred by D. Deptuk by Swiftwind Classic Edition and Swiftwind Sinatala, owned by Noel Stark and Doris Deptuk.
Thank you. Here's your baggage. We're going to go on.
Supernatural Farishta, bred by Patricia Khan, June Beard, and Barbara Hurry, by Champion Jinfield Jihad Inkantwala and Champion Jinfield Jihad's Tiffany, owned by Janet Tully. Sonita's Scarlet Rose, bred by Kay Stevens and A. Bacon by Champion Tarina Eagle's Flight, and Sonita's Spider Woman, owned by Arlene Bacon.
Thank you.
Was it one used to have a sleeping movement and one had the jerky movement, and now you're going to fake like
Araby's Passion, bred by Helen Dukes by Araby's Powerhouse CD and Champion Araby's Summer Kiss, owned by Helen Dukes.
Well, it doesn't go with, it's not my colors. That's the problem with bottles, but it doesn't go with the blobs. That's like
Thank you.
Sure.
Rafika's In the Fast Lane, bred by Eric Schumacher and Garrett and Sue Gaines, by champion Kabik's the front runner, and champion Rafika's Ginger Snap, owned by Joe and Linda Barger and Sue Gaines. Shabanu's Silky Cream, bred by Margaret Howell, by champion Fox Runs Phoenix, and Griffon's Natty Silks, owned by Margaret and Robert Howell.
Thank you.
Kabik's Up Tempo, bred by C. McDowell and Chris and Marguerite Terrell, by champion Kabik's Up Front, and champion Kabik's Image of Sterling, owned by W&M Barnett and C&M Terrell. Tarina in the Spotlight, bred by Patricia Jones, by champion Tarina Arctic Lights and champion Tarina Arctic Dove, owned by John Cabot, Sharon Cabral, and Patricia Jones. Uchachi Eric Chacha, bred by Lynn Miller, by champion Gerard's Accent of Kimari, and champion Seven Veils, the Enchantress CDX, owned by Lynn Miller. Kashara Diza Georgie Girl, bred by D. Brochik, Jay Dickies, and Jay Bloom, by champion Jero's Heartbreaker and Temuku Tiger Pleaser, owned by Jody Coleman, J.N.R. Dickies, and D.K. Bruchek.
I heard the laughter. Hello. And I replied, we have the volume down.
Oh, that's right.
Abacus Shiloh Sachet Chacon, bred by Abby Shaw, B. Clark, S. Fisher, and T. Chacon, by champion Shiloh Marquis Malachite, and champion Bonanza's C&H Sugar Cookie, owned by Terry Chacon and Abby Shaw.
I knew it was nothing present because nobody...
Back to sleep, I'll call you.
Rafika's Mistress of the Dark, bred by Sue and Garrett Games and Kelly Mills, by Rafika's Thief of Hearts and Rafika's This Is It, owned by Ellison W. Rawls and Sue and Garrett Games.
Hello. Thank you. Maybe you didn't like my voice.
Sterling's Fine Line, bred by Colleen McDowell and Chris and Marguerite Terrell, by champion Kabik's Up Front, and champion Quebec's Image of Sterling, owned by John and Debbie Alden and Colleen McDowell. Storm Hill's Innuendo, bred by David and Sandra Fry, by Storm Hill's Entrepreneur and champion Storm Hill's Voodoo Magic, owned by Pat and George Patterson.
President had a big expose and clothing. I don't know, every once in a while
Rafika's Simple Elegance, bred by Eric Schumacher, and Sue and Gary Games by champion Quebec's The Front Runner, and champion Rafika's Ginger Snap, owned by Eric Schumacher.
Well, my cousin was time there last.
Rafika's Intimidation, bred by Eric Schumacher and Sue and Gary Games, by champion Quebec's The Front Runner, and champion Rafika's Ginger Snap, owned by Erica and Eric Schumacher. Kamari's Legend of Cool Breeze, bred by Julie Roche and Emmett Roche and Vicki Robinson, by champion Jubilant Osir and champion Kamari's Charming Alibi, owned by Debbie Davis.
he said really what it was a statement to show the big action.
Corellic's Windsurfer, bred and owned by Kathleen Corellic, by champion Coastwind Jubilant Osiris and champion Corellic's Windsong.
Every once in a while, just to attract attention.
Walk on and maybe stop.
Rafika's Going in Style, bred by Sue and Gary Games and Eric Schumacher, by champion Quebec's The Front Runner and champion Rafika's Ginger Snap, owned by David and Kathy Ison and Sue Games. Selena's Southern Storm, bred by Dee McMullen and S. Browan, by champion Genesis Red Cloud and champion Kassan Sakahawa of Desiree, owned by S. Donarchio, L. Lindrup, and L. Fernandez. Shiloh's Sustanuto, bred by Bruce Clark and Stephen Fisher, by champion Shiloh Marquis Malachite and champion Shiloh Babe in the Woods, owned by Susan Keene, B. Clark, and S. Fisher.
He was sitting on the table going, no way. Get up with his little blood pressure. They thought it was too early. They felt he had another 20 minutes, but I don't think he did. That's
I know the one that I'd like to take home, but I'm sure it's probably the same position. I could take
Always.
Yeah, I know. I heard that twice already. Or there's another one. There's another little though. That's it. I like that. Not too bad. I don't drive that at all. I think he owns that one. I might be able to get that one. There you go. There is the level.
9 to 12 is 12
This was the cut of the 12 to 18 month class. Placements in the 12 to 18 month class. First, Kasara Dizza Georgie Girl. Second, Kessan Pretty Poison. Third, Corelix Windsurfer. And fourth, Casbar Double Vision. Bred by Exhibitor Bitches.
You're right, it was a premium at 156. That's funny, I thought Rosemary Sutton was in there.
Chief 139.
Our judge for this class is Pauline Hewitt again. First pitch that we have is Sterling's Color Perfect, bred by Colleen McDowell and Chris and Marguerite Terrell, by Champion Quebec's Up Front and Champion Quebec's Image of Sterling, owned by Colleen McDowell and Julie Bloomberg. The interference that you're experiencing is part of the bad tape. This is getting ready to, to end, so it's not your TV. Kennelary's Soul Kiss, bred by A&D Kinniston and C. McDowell, by Champion Quebec's The Successor, and Laura Largent, Ali Crystalline, owned by Hillary and A&D Kinniston. Soulbacken's I'm Not Dreaming, bred by Shelley and Richard Bagenstos, by Giroux's Soulback and Heartbeat, and Soulbacken's Barbarella, owned by Shelley and Richard Bagenstos. Fox Runs Born Again, bred by Mary Mercer and Virginia Colleen Steeves, by Champion Fox Runs Phoenix and Champion Fox Runs Insouciance, owned by Pat and Glenn Woodson, L. Mercer, and J. Mercer. Carricker Live Wire, bred and owned by Georgiana Guthrie, by Carricker Moonlight Night and Carricker Irish Rose,